Hello, everyone, and I'm Christina Giordano, the founder of Sold, your go-to resource for soulful entrepreneurship. And my philosophy is this: people can no longer be sold to, they must be sold to. This is selling with soul. This is marketing with integrity, where you no longer need to compromise your authenticity, your boundaries, your uniqueness, your wholeness. This is messaging in a way that actually reflects the transformation you provide because it's your story, your transformation, and nobody can compete with that. This is monetizing yourself in a way that honors your fullness, all of the pieces and parts of you that are meant to be divinely resourced. Join me every Wednesday for all of this and more. Let's jump right in. This episode is called You Are the Walking Representation of Your Own Transformation. And I just want to say, this is the last episode of season 2. And I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of glad about it. This season, this season started last year. I want to say episode 13 came out, I believe it was during the summer. And then, of course, in September, actually, no, it was in August, I believe it was in August, because in September, I took a 4-month break to move through what many of you are already aware of. And if you're not, you can turn back to, I believe it was episode 17 that kind of gives all the details of that. But I had to move through a major life transition of divorce. And losing something that I fully felt was my life path. And even though I'm on the other side of that and feel relief and gratitude and um, more aligned and empowered than I ever have felt before, it is still something I look back on and think to myself, I cannot believe that I did that. I cannot believe that I endured that amount of destruction and chaos and endured it and not only survived it, but thrived in it. And if you do go back to episode 17, I talk about all the ways that it changed me. And, I recorded that episode back in January, I think it was. And of course, now it's April and it just keeps getting better. Like there's something to be said when we hear that saying. Um, but moving through that time was really such a life-changing transition for me. And it not only changed, the obvious parts of my life where now I'm a single mom and um I'm still in a transitional home, if you will, where we'll actually have to start looking for our new home in the next couple of months. We're here till June. And the other obvious parts where um I'm more engaged in my business, I'm more focused on my kids, I'm kind of a different person altogether. And it's really because I've found myself again. And when you're in something that is so damaging to yourself, it diminishes you, it diminishes your light, and it diminishes the parts of you that are really meant to shine. And it had to happen the way that it happened. And it's crazy to say that I'm grateful for the way that it happened, but I know that with the end of this season of Sold, my soul will move on to the next season of life. Like that just feels like what it is. I mean, we just went through the eclipse wormhole that I like to call it. And that in and of itself was a portal that I think I'm going to talk about in today's episode just a little bit. Um, but it made me realize a lot of things. It made my kids realize a lot of things. And one of the biggest things that it made us realize was that we get to decide what is true for us. We get to decide that. And that wasn't always the case for me. I grew up thinking and believing and knowing that whatever everyone else said about me or what authority figures told me or what was happening around me, it affected me to such a degree that that was my truth, that what other people said was true, that my truth wasn't really relevant or even resonant or even there to begin with. And so it's nice coming out of this eclipse season knowing that, having that realization that we get to decide that we have a say in what's next, but also that there is a next. Like that's just the most wonderful part of all of this is that I get to finish the season right on the threshold of the end of eclipse season where everything kind of dismantles itself. Like, thank you, Cosmos, for the things that you do for us. But eclipse season, it can be chaotic, it can be confusing, it can be challenging, but on the other side of it is a whole new timeline. At least that's what I found in my opinion. And so I'm grateful for it. And I'm grateful for all of you for being here with me throughout this season. And you know who you are. And and yeah, moving on to this episode. So in this week's episode, I want to dive into the transformation of my own work, which is marketing consulting. That's just generally what it is, but it's a more soulful approach to it. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I believe people can no longer be sold to. They must be sold to. That's SOULD. And so, what is my definition of sold? It's selling with soul. It's putting your soul on the front lines of your work. It's the ability to have soul in the process of selling the very thing that you're so passionate about. Now, for some of us, this is a natural ability where we are really able to tap into it. We are able to connect the dots on our own, claim what matters so much to us about what we do, and then share it in a way that is truly authentic and aligned and empowered. However, for some of us, this doesn't come so easily. We have some deep fears or inhibitions or even confusion about why our work matters to us and to the people we serve. And this isn't because there's anything wrong with us, it's because some of us have simply forgotten how to express ourselves in this way. It's a remembering. But instead of remembering the truth of our hearts as it relates to the strength of our work, which is something I like to say, we're remembering the time that we were bullied for speaking up. We're remembering the authority figures in our lives who told us who we were and what was expected of us. We're remembering what society deems appropriate in regards to a career and the proper way to explain it. We're remembering that some people buy based on credentials they see rather than what is being spoken by the person behind them. And we're remembering what it feels like to be misunderstood and criticized and, at worst, canceled. And needless to say, all of these things that we're remembering are not only not serving us, they have power over what we say and how we say it. Now, here's what matters to me so much about what I do. I know what it feels like to post something on social media or whatever and require that it be just right, that it be written perfectly, that the picture be high quality, that everything just fit. I know what it feels like to share a piece of my heart and not receive any sort of validation for it in the form of likes and comments, which is evidently the validation that you get on social media these days. And finally, I know what it feels like to do all of the marketing things correctly and maybe even borderline perfectly, and it simply doesn't work out the way I expected it to. I know that feeling that comes when you want to give in and give up because the whole marketing thing is really hard and really scary and not fun at all. But marketing didn't start to become easy or effective or fun for me until I decided to take everything and everyone but myself off of the pedestal. I decided that I'm here to make an impact. I decided that I was chosen for this. It's my destiny. It's something comes alive in me when I do what I do. I decided that I'm not going to let anyone or anything make me feel less than what I truly am. And what I truly am and what I bring to the table and what I embody through my work is a walking representation of my own transformation that I now give to others. So that means that I am fully aligned in my truth. I am fully embodied in it. And I'm fully authentic in the way that I show up for it and talk about it. I do what I do because it feels good to do it. My soul sings when I see the moment it clicks in my client's eyes. This is what I call the moment of magic. And I know that moment so well. And the people who work with me and understand that moment and really embrace the transformation that they provide, like the actual transformation. They're not helping people make more money. They're not helping people um, find love. They're not helping people, get fit or whatever the thing is these days. They're not helping people do any of that. Those are just, natural byproducts of their work. There's something that happens when someone works with you that makes them come alive and it makes you come alive almost at the exact same time. There's something that happens. It's that's why it's the moment of magic, because there's something within you, within your essence, within your soul that is just radiant, that is just fresh and new and there. It's there. It's, I mean, there's no other way to say it. It's this, and I've called it, I've called it many things. I've called it life force energy. I called it the juice, but it's more than that. It's something that it's a knowing. It's the knowing within you that knows that this is the truth. This is my truth. This is my truth as it relates to what I do. When I help people in this way, doing what I do, when I help them, when we get to that moment of magic, that's what happens when I help them make their marketing come alive. That's what happens when I help them see what they're capable of and how they truly help others. It's when I help them lock into their mission, their method, and their message, and they become utterly unstoppable. And it all starts with that breath of fresh air, which is probably the best way to describe it, that brings their passions back into their business and then building momentum as they go. There's nothing like it. And it matters because not only does it feel good for them to show up, be seen, and shine, but they have also now been set free from a broken and outdated approach to marketing. So instead of dwelling in the shadows, I help them bring their work to light. And in turn, they show up in their businesses like the leaders that they naturally are because they're doing what they're doing. And it's so clearly their destiny, so clearly their calling that they've decided to let that be true for them. They were chosen for this work and they fully believe it. Imagine that kind of energy in your business. Like, really imagine that for a moment and how it transfers into every other area of your life. Imagine the kind of moves you make with that energy, the kind of energy that just knows. It just knows. Here's what happens. Your intuition and instincts get an immediate upgrade. And I want to dive down into this to a moment because I'm going to explain a couple of ways that this work has affected me, especially recently as again my intuition and my instincts have gotten an upgrade. There are a few changes I'm making in my business right now that my rational mind, it sounds absolutely insane and borderline counterintuitive to it. But it also feels so right. It feels so right to me. So first things first, I'm increasing my prices. I have been feeling the need to do this for quite some time, but I was afraid. I was afraid that I wouldn't get any clients. I was afraid that people wouldn't be able to afford me. I was afraid that I would be overlooked and misunderstood. It was another who does she think she is kind of feeling. But I realized that I have also invested in offerings that initially felt like big investments to me, but were totally and completely worth it. I have also passed judgment on coaches or consultants charging what I'm what I deem to be utterly insane prices, but people are still paying them. Like they're still getting business and a lot of it. So there was some programming that I had to unwire within my own consciousness around my worth and the assumption around that worth and the energetics of money in general. By the way, just as a little plug, the new offering that I have coming out very soon, the money methods, dives into all of this. So stay tuned for more on that. Second, I'm reducing my availability. This is another like, who does she think she is kind of thing. I used to think that having more availability within my schedule would mean that more clients would be able to have more options to decide what works best for them. And then they'd be able to work with me more. Do you see how this is like total people pleasing in disguise? It's something that I'm actively accepting about myself, but also trying to change because it simply doesn't serve me. So going forward, I've decided that I'm only going to be available from 10:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday for my one-to-one and workshop calls. And then Wednesdays and Fridays are my operations and marketing days. Now, of course, this can and will likely evolve. But for now, I like the structure and the freedom that the schedule gives me. Third and finally, I am no longer discounting my offerings. Like hard no and hard stop. I've done this for so long, thinking that it was the only way that people would buy from me. It was a major selling strategy of mine. And I realized it was entirely driven by lack and an ego that was too scared to stand in my own soul power and realize that I am worth what I'm worth. And what I say I'm worth is what I'm worth. So gone are the days of offering discounted deals during the holiday season over the whatever, or to specific communities, or as added bonuses to attending a free offering with me. I will keep my life method offering, but other than that, I receive what I will receive in order to give you what you need. This keeps me in my highest form of integrity and it keeps my clients in theirs. And it feels right. That's my words. It feels right to me. It makes no sense to my mind, who it's kind of like a squirrel mind when I think about it, like, oh, are you sure about that? I don't know about that. It's kind of like that, but it just feels right. It just feels right. So I hope that today's episode gives you a dose of inspiration at the very least, but also a glimpse of what it means to be the walking representation of your own transformation. So until next time, be well and take care.